Anderson.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to channel Anderson, and welcome to the big break episode on the C43. Now, I should say big break episode because we're not really upgrading as far as diameter goes on our brakes or piston goes on our brakes, but we're getting the more modern 4-piston, one-piece calipers and a set of 330mm C43 Sport rotors to swap out, in this case, for our 2-piece calipers, floating caliper, and I think a 332mm rotor. So I guess technically I should say our small brake upgrade. But yeah, that said, I got everything I think I need to get started on this, except I'm going to have to go pick up some brake fluid at some point because I don't know if I have enough to fully flush the brakes right now, but that's okay. The majority of what we need we got over here. We got our calipers, like I said, and I know some of you guys voted for a different color, but I ended up just doing the factory black on these. They usually would always come either black or silver, depending on if you had AMG model or not. In this case, I did try out, you can see the leftover gray on one spot I forgot to hit, but the gray just didn't look that great in my opinion, and the other one was already like kind of left mostly black, so I just decided to stick with black. Besides that, Pagee pads, and once we get to it, I'll show you guys the rotors. Don't want to bust them out of the box yet because we got other stuff to take care of. But I was just about to get started and I realized, oh no, we have, you guys can't see that. There you can. We have a wheel lock key on here, and I was dreading it because I just went through that process on the Mars Red C55, if you guys remember. I had to spend an hour on my day going to store to store to store to try to find the right safety key for it, and it was a nightmare. But Mike, the previous owner of this car, such a stand-up guy, I knew it had to be in the car somewhere if he had those on there, if he did it. So started looking around, spelunking around, and luckily inside of our glove compartment I found what we need. So that saved the day big time. Don't have to worry about that anymore. And at the same time we're doing our brake upgrade, of course, you guys know every time I work on new cars to the fleet, I guess you want to say, I always throw on Motorsport Hardware lug stud kit. So we have there, I believe, 87mm race studs, and then open seat R12 ball seat lug nuts. So that should spruce things up quite a bit. We'll get to the back as we go. And at the same time, we're going to swap in our OEM Silver Star centerpieces for these because our old Falterbach nasty caps are just not doing so hot. They're about to fall off. So I like the look of the stars better anyways, so we're just going to swap those out while we got this thing up and at 'em. So no other time to waste. Let's go ahead, get this thing jacked up, and start exploring what we got in there. Oh, actually, one other thing I forgot. At the same time, we also have a set of stainless steel lines from Garagistic. They actually sent these out for the 190E, but these will work for this car, I believe. We'll test fit them to make sure, but they're going to send me another set that I can use on the 190E later. So I just figured, all right, let's use these for now. So, all right, now let's get to it. All right, guys, wet and rainy day. It's good to be working in the garage. So, got the car jacked up. I had to refresh my memory on what the 202 likes for jacking up the front. There's a big cross beam right here that you use. It just, you gotta have a lot of space. So I had to move our little fridge over here to get the jack enough room to have the handle sticking out as far as it needed to. But yeah, that's all good. And then we have it on jack stands on the pads. I really want to lift, guys, because I don't like working under jack stands, so I'm not really getting under the car right now at all. But just kind of seeing from outside, it's pretty dry. It does look like it possibly has a little bit of a rear main leak. Nothing crazy. A lot of that is just kind of dried up crud, but the transmission pan and the engine pan look bone dry, which is awesome to see. A little bit of residual stuff over here from what could be our failing AC compressor leaking out some of the juice in there, and could be also from power steering before too. So yeah, overall, I mean, I'm super happy with what I see underneath here. It's very clean. looks like maybe our engine mount has exploded on this side. I can see all that fluid up there. That might, I don't know actually, that looks kind of odd. Maybe that's from a previous explosion, but these do look pretty collapsed. We do have creative steel mounts on the way for it though, so I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, besides that, I mean, it looks pretty good. So it's not what we're here for in this case. We are here for the brakes. And let's see, does this thing have stainless lines? It might already have stainless lines. Yeah, I think it does. That is awesome. Okay, we'll check that out once we get there, but that could really save some time and just money, I guess. Be able to use those other sets I have. So let me get the wheels off and we'll continue on. Alright gents, well apologies, I was working and forgot about, you know, the whole thing about recording a video and the camera and whatnot, but it's just brakes at the end of the day, so it's pretty straightforward. Two 18mm bolts holding on the caliper. You don't need to undo any of the like guide bolts or the spring or anything like that on this two-piece caliper. Just the main bolts on it and you're good. Our rotor is off. This thing is super cool. For those that don't know, the C43 uses kind of a one-off brake rotor from factory, and they are quite pricey if you want to replace the OEM units like these. They're beautiful, they're an awesome rotor, and I wish that the ones that I got were solid. I actually tried to order solid, but they still came drilled. But whatever, beats. I think these are, from what I saw, $230, $250 a piece. I picked up those for about $100 shipped for the pair. So yeah, price wise it's hard to reason with buying these again unless you just want to keep the car absolutely factory, and you know that's okay too, but for this car it's not really what I'm planning. So we'll keep these calipers for sure, and maybe even keep the rotors around just because they're cool. I don't know, but maybe someday down the line if I want to, you know, you can always swap the factory stuff back on. We went through this same thing with my C36. It has the rare upgraded brake package on it, and I went back and forth on running the OEM units again. But at the end of the day, I just decided to throw on the more modern setup that has a lot more, or a lot cheaper parts to use and a lot more availability and easier to find. So I actually did order a brand new set of rotors for the C36, and I still have the factory calipers. So if I do ever want to put it back to factory, I can. But these cars, guys, and me, you guys know, factory is not really my forte. I keep the cars in good condition, and I make them mechanically how I want them to be, and try not to, you know, ruin them or destroy them or things like that. But to each their own, and I'm not really a OEM guy. So where it needs to be, I do keep things OEM, but otherwise I like modifying things and making it my own, and this is a very easy factory modification to do. So that said, it looks like whoever's in here last did a good job. It's nice and coated, so this thing hasn't got any corrosion on it. That's awesome to see. The cool thing about our rotors that we got is they should line up with our set screws. Unlike the C36, I had to leave them floating, so that's a plus on this setup. And then the only thing we might need to do, from talking with Matthew Quick of Quick Classics, you guys might know, I think he ran a 5mm little washer in between the caliper to get it kind of sitting perfectly centered with the rotor. So we'll see if we need to do that, and I'll keep you guys posted, I guess, as we go. My plan is to test fit everything before I undo our brake line, just to avoid, you know, fluid spilling that doesn't need to. So I'll try to do that as kind of a quick one-off process once I'm ready and I've test fit everything. But let me take a little bit of time to do that, and I'll catch you guys in a bit. All right, guys, I'm moving on to properly fit our or test fit our caliper. I threw on our new rotors here. Again, these are out of a W203 C230 Sport, or C230 Compressor Sport, sorry. C230 might be the same, I don't know. These came in a variation of various models, but these are 203 ones, sedan, and they're 330 millimeters. These are 332. If I threw these right up next to it, could make the comparison, but you know, 2 millimeters, not much difference. So yeah, I set screw, everything lines up perfectly, so that's awesome. And now we can start to test fit our caliper and see kind of where it's gonna want to sit. Alright guys, so right off the bat, off of test fitting, these come into contact, same exact spot. It's hard to show you guys while holding this, but same exact spot that my C36 did. That little square kind of ear to the right of the piston right there, that makes contact with the rotor just barely. So I think I am going to do what Matt Quick did and throw in basically a 5 mil spacer right on this side, and that should give us plenty of clearance and make it so we don't need to file down like we had to on the C36. I believe the C36 was opposite, where I wouldn't have been able to use a spacer to clear it. I basically just had to file down the pieces I was hitting. So at least in this case, I don't have to spend, you know, forever filing and test fitting, filing and test fitting. I can just use washers. So let's do that, see what I can find. All right guys, well there is it, test fit. That is using these stainless steel washers that I had, which are just over 4 mil thick, and that provides plenty of clearance for that ear that I was talking about. You can see right there on the right side. So yeah, we should be good. Caliper looks pretty dang even over the rotor, so should be no problem. This thing's all dirty now, but I can clean that off after. Dude, speaking of paint colors, guys, I was like, oh man, maybe I should go back and paint this a different color. So I hit this one with a metallic silver, and it just did not look right. It looked too metallic compared to, you know, it's going to be sitting right behind the monoblocks. It would have just been a weird contrast to silver. I tried the other gray color, and when I did that, it started spidering, and I waited too, like it was hours in between, but it just, for some reason, same paint, they're both Krylon, but sometimes paint, guys, it does not like another type of paint, and when you try to mix them, it'll do stuff like this. So it's still solid, it's hard, and there's a bunch of coats on this now, so I'm just gonna leave it as is, never gonna notice. But silly, man, I should have just left it as is without experimenting. But I was trying to double check that I liked the black calipers, and honestly, it looks totally fine. It looks clean. It's, you know, these are not like 6-piston brakes that I want to make look super cool or anything like that. They're just a regular 4-piston replacement. These were never red from factory. Somebody painted these at some point. These were originally just like a, you know, raw material. That's how most of the brakes they used to do came. Then later they started doing the powder coated silver or black. But yeah, somebody just sprayed these red. So yeah, we'll keep it factory style. But at least we got this solved. That means repeat the process on the other side. And I just test fit with one right now, one bolt, because still got to undo our brake line and do the old spinny with one hand trick, since I'm not going to bother undoing it from the top back here. That would just be silly, so I'll do the spin on method and see how quick I can do it before I lose a bunch of brake fluid. But anyways, I'm going to take a quick break and I'll get back to this in a second. Alright guys, I'm back, had dinner, hung out for a while, avoided working on cars, you know, a little bit, but this is fun. So let's figure it out. I just got to undo our brake line, get it swapped over here, and I'll acetone our rotor off real quick, and then basically just bolt this thing up and use a little bit of Loctite in the bolts in the back, cinch them down nice and snug, and move on to the other side, which we'll see. I might just end it after we finish up the setup on this side, honestly, because the other side has no lighting and it's the same thing on the other side. So let's try to get what we can get done tonight and conclude things. Alright guys, got the brake hose cracked on this one. It is an 11 millimeter. It might be something particular to, I don't know, brake fittings, but 11 millimeter wrench fit on it just fine. Came up with a fancy idea last minute here. I went ahead and mixed up a little bit of Permatex steel weld. It's my favorite kind of epoxy weld stuff. It's super strong, super quick, and decided to just put a tiny little coating on the washers and stick them to the calipers. That way it's just easier. I don't have to fight the you know, trying to get them lined up with the bolt and all that stuff, freestyling it. So it's just easier this way. So figured make my life a little easier for installing and removing. And if I ever need to remove them, you know, hammer and a screwdriver, they'll pop off. And honestly, guys, these brake calipers are so cheap and dime a dozen at any pick and pull, really, off of so many different chassis, that if I screwed them up that bad, just go get another set for 50 bucks. So yeah, let's see if that does a trick. Let that cure for about 5-10 minutes, and then we'll swap out with our freestyle rotation method of getting our brake line onto the new caliper. And no, I did not forget. Got all of our hardware and everything inside of here, and a quick scrub on those and clean them up and get them prepped for our brake pads. Alright guys, those are officially mounted up. Just got to throw in my pads right now, but we got everything cleared with the caliper itself, Loctited the bolts. The washer is epoxied on, worked out like a charm. So that should be good. Oh, also, super dope. On the Goodrich lines, I haven't had these ones, but they actually have a swivel on both sides. So that makes it super convenient. Last time on the C36, I had to literally rotate to get it to tighten, and it was a pain, and I got brake fluid everywhere because it's just constantly dripping out while you're trying to spin the caliper on. So that was way easier than that last time I did it. So all I need to do now, get our pads in there, clean up the pins and all that stuff a little bit before I throw them in, and then I'll do a quick wipe down. Actually, I'll do that right now. I'll do a quick wipe down of the face of the rotor and the back of the rotor with some acetone. So let me do that. I'll catch you guys back in a second to get the pads in. All right guys, more good news. Our brake wear sensor bolts right up as well, and the sensor fits into the OEM pad just fine also. So we'll be good to reuse those. And yeah, we're almost done. I'm just cleaning things up, last little bits, and yeah, we're almost there. Whew, all right, and just like that guys, brake job complete. I was freeing up all the pistons. One of them was a little sticky, but I got it to slide free, so I think we're good. Let me get my light so you guys can see this. So yeah, there we have it. Got everything situated. Piggy pads fit in nicely. We're nice and even on the pad front. No kind of offset fitment like the C36 was, thanks to those spacers in the back. Everything is secure, but I don't have brake fluid, and we still got to finish the other side. So I think that is where we're going to call things, guys. I will get the stud kit and the other side finished in the next episode, and we'll get them bled, and then we can take this thing for a drive, and I'll give you guys my thoughts on how they feel. One thing to point out is the stock calipers are a massive difference weight-wise, and I'm going to include that in the next video. I'll bust out the scale since I still have both assemblies basically that I can compare back to back. I will measure the caliper and the rotor off of this one, as well as the more modern 4-piston and the C43 rotor, to see what the overall weight is, because it's got to be at least a few pounds from what I'm feeling off of that, and I think it may even surprise us what they end up being in total weights. That is unsprung weight, so I think so. Are brakes considered unsprung weight? Maybe just the rotors. I don't know about calipers. Are calipers unsprung weight? I don't know. My brain is lost right now. It's a little too late. I need to go to bed. But yeah, regardless, it's a weight off of the car, and I think it's going to be a nice little upgrade and feel to the car. So I will catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and leave me a comment down below if you guys got any questions or want anything else in the next video. So see you then. Peace.
3, 2, 1.